In this video, guys, we're going to talk about listening to hear and not just to respond.
Now, for some of y'all, you're like, what?
Yeah, it seems so simple. But when you're in the midst of discussing something of great value and importance, or something that may step on your toes,
Right.
or something that you feel is a little bit too confrontational, right? It's easy to get offended, it's easy to get frustrated, and then to retaliate or to quickly respond.
All right, so usually when someone is speaking, you're actually listening to figure out what you can say to combat them. So you can one-up them. That's listening to respond.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is listening to hear, meaning as they're speaking, you're not conjuring up a rebuttal, but you're actually taking in what they're saying and really analyzing it. I know this is deep, and for some of y'all, you're like, that's just way too much. But you're really trying to get an understanding of where your spouse is.
Yeah, so you may want to actually ask clarifying questions. So your spouse begins to tell you about their day. That's not your time to then all of a sudden, start talking about your day.
Yeah.
Right? Well, let me tell you what happened with mine. Or they tell you, hey, I have this pain in my body. And you say, well, I also have this pain in my body.
Why do they sound like that?
It's cool to seek to relate to what people are going through, but that's that one-up thing that she's talking about. How about you just empathize with whatever it is that they're bringing up to you, and you say, okay, tell me more about that.
Yeah.
That one little statement could make a huge difference because it implies you're actively listening to what it is that they're trying to share with you at that moment.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it's like huge that you begin to build a database of actual questions that help you to get to the heart of what it is that your spouse may be trying to communicate with you at that time.
So what are some clarifying basic statements that someone can use in a conversation?
Yeah, I think it may depend on what the situation is, but tell me more, or how did you come to that conclusion, or what is it that you would like for me to do about it, right? These different questions may be able to help you gain some traction with your spouse. But then at the same time, if you don't understand, you may want to ask those clarifying questions with the right tone, because if not, it can come out like sarcastic.
Well, what you mean?
Yeah. And you don't want that. Well, what you mean by that? And so you don't want it to be, again, the goal is negotiation, compromise. We're trying to actually gain an understanding so that we can walk together in unity and have a peaceful relationship. And so all of these dysfunctional habits that we may have when it comes to communication, we have to push those things to the side, which means that we have to humble ourselves.
That's what I was about to say. If you're conjuring up something as they're articulating things, then it may mean you may have a little pride in you or a little control in you. And so pay attention to that. And that may be an area that you may need to pray about so it won't kind of blow up later on a bigger issue.
Yeah. When you're listening, if you want to get to the heart of the matter, then you want to listen not as enemies, but as best friends and lovers. And that makes a big difference. If she and I ever get to a place to where if we're having a conversation, or if you and your spouse are having a conversation, and we've crossed that line of we're together and we're trying to resolve a conflict as a team so that we can get back out on the playing field and win this game, and it becomes a competition between who's right or who's better than the other, or which person is more at fault, whatever scenario you can put together, then now we're enemies, and that's when the enemy has done a great job of divide and conquer. A house that's divided against itself cannot stand. And so what we're trying to do is not rip our own house apart by allowing division and dissension to come in due to poor communication. Yeah. So we want to get to a point where we realize that, hey, we're on the same team, right? We're just having a misunderstanding. So I'm going to chill out, I'm going to relax, and I'm going to listen to understand. I'm listening to hear your heart and not just to be right or to quickly jump to whatever it is that I want to get out, right? Because that doesn't help the relationship move forward.